Good day, guys. Rukshan here. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Rukshan On X. I do a live almost daily now, just chatting about news, particularly coming to you from news that is being discussed on the platform of X. Thanks to Elon Musk, of course. I say this every time I do this show. Thanks to Elon Musk, there is a bit more of a free flow of information and news sharing on X, and a lot of good debate happening there. So I source a lot of the news that I'm talking about from X. And as always, I love to show the comments as well and get you guys involved in some of these discussions and reply to some of the comments. So today I'm trying a 6 o'clock time for Tuesdays because Avi Yemeni will come on at 7 p.m. on his own show, the Yemeni Report. So leading into that show, I will do this show. There's no official affiliation there, just for a bit of fun before Avi starts his show at 7 p.m. Come join us on X. Let's have a look. Yep, yeah, definitely. So if this comment pops up on your screen on YouTube, come join us on X. So Preston holds a lot of what are they called? Twitter Spaces or X Spaces, where a lot of the community that are on there, this Aussie community, gets together and discusses all types of political issues. I think there's also an Australian community on X that you can tag along and join into and see what your fellow Australians are talking about on social media. Again, you might be familiar with these concepts of groups from Facebook and things like this, but if you're not on X, it's a lot more free flow of information without censorship. And today I'm actually going to be talking about a few issues around censorship, misinformation, fact-checking, some of my favorite topics, especially living in Australia where we're always dealing with the government or different institutions. Are we focusing on two particular institutions, but trying to always control the flow of information through using various tools. Got a comment here from Joel Jamal. Hey, Joel, great to see you. Said, great to see you getting back into it. Thanks, mate. So Joel from Turning Point, Australia. You can also watch his podcast, The Arc. I believe that's the correct name. So I would love to jump on The Arc at some point, Joel, and do a chat with you as well, or maybe have you as a guest on Rukshan on X, and we can go through your X and some of the issues and things that you're talking about. So thanks for that, Joel. Okay, so the first story that I wanted to cover is one that I saved from the morning, and a favorite topic of mine, and that is, of course, ABC, our public broadcaster. The federal government has committed, the Labor government, for funding the ABC will lift by more than 40 million a year from 2026 to 2027. And I think overall they're getting about $80 million in extra funding. What do you guys think? Does the ABC deserve more public funding? I know they get billions over the course of a long time, and I don't think we've been getting our true value from the ABC. And here it is again. Somehow the government has managed to find extra money to give to the ABC. Now, they do also have a new managing director that's been appointed, an individual, I believe, that was involved in another mainstream channel, either Channel 9 or Channel 10. So he's taking the helm at the ABC, and then we might see some changes there for them to be more competitive. But if this was any other business, if this was any other media organization, with the ratings that they have at the moment, I saw a report the other day on X as well that the WA breakfast program for the ABC had about 3,000 viewers for the week, right? And that's crazy to think that how disinterested people are in the crap that's spewing out of the ABC, even on their morning programs. I can just imagine how just boring and woke that it must be to listen to the ABC. I've tried sometimes. Maybe we'll check in on the ABC at the end. I'll jump on the ABC and see what they're talking about. But I don't think we're really getting true value out of the ABC. And a lot of the commentary that I see online is people complaining about the lack of representation in the ABC. One great example of that is during federal election or state elections, you rarely see the ABC engage with some of the independent candidates or some of like the grassroots candidates who might be of a different political persuasion to the type of issues that the ABC loves. So you'll see them giving a lot of airtime to like Greens and things like this that fit in with the ideological leanings of the ABC or the staff or the people that work there. But very rarely do you see them, reach out to grassroots people who are, getting together. I saw that especially during the elections that came after the COVID pandemic, for instance. You had a lot of people being involved in the political process, and the ABC did not give them any airtime whatsoever. And I believe if you're going to be taking money from taxpayers, the least that you could do as being this unbiased source of news information that's meant to represent the vast view of lots of different Australians, you should at least have the decency to have those views on your platforms as well, but they don't. And it's very obvious that they don't. So I'd love to jump into some of these comments here as well. Vinny always writes Rookcast. Yes, I'm a big fan of Tim Pool, actually. So for a long time, I've been a big fan of Tim Pool, and I love what they do in the US. Just always just live streaming, talking about news, getting everyone involved. It's a lot of fun. So yes, thank you for calling it the Rookcast. I don't mind that name whatsoever. Let's have a look at what else people are saying. On some instances, you have more viewers than the ABC. They are a joke. They should fund you. Look, I mean, sometimes, when we do the opposition podcast or something, we'll have a few thousand people watching, and technically, that's more people that watch, me and Avi, for instance, on the opposition podcast, than they watch the ABC, for the whole week on their morning shows. And we're just doing this, and these guys are getting all this public funding. Now, I'm doing this, for instance, in my living space. With my equipment that I've purchased myself, and all these technical things that I'm doing, and it's great. But if the public, for instance, were to fund me and give me $40 million, or any other individual that might be involved in the pursuit of news, perhaps we could do a better job. But that is how the real world works. So when a corporation or a company that's not publicly funded is having a hard time, they either have to be bought out by someone else, find extra funding, innovate, do all these things. But the ABC is not really doing that. They're just going about their own little agenda, pushing their own ideologies. There's no incentive for them to actually include the views of everyone else. That's why you have these far left leaning shows like Q&A and things like this, which we watch just to see exactly the type of messaging that we believe we'll get from them, because we can tell straight away when we see those shows, see the host, see the type of audiences that are there, and the type of panelists they get usually, that is going to be a very left-leaning, certain political ideology-leaning program. And we saw that. I think I talked about Q&A and the episodes they had leading up to the US election. Now, if you just watch the ABC as an Australian, right, just imagine you didn't consume any other news, you would, for instance, have no clue whatsoever that Donald Trump was, leading the election, going to win the election in the manner that he did, because they're just shoving this fake news down your throat. Right, but if you had consumed everything else that we were doing on X and things like this, you'd have a far better idea of what's happening in the world. So definitely the ABC is doing a great disservice. Someone here has written state propaganda. Yes, I could agree with that, state propaganda. Okay, here's an interesting comment. How much Rebel Media gave you for your soul? Nothing. I'm still very independent. I'm not signed up to anyone. I work for myself. I do this for fun. And I enjoy doing this. So no, I'm just doing this. There's no relationship with anyone in that manner. It's more so the stuff that I do with Avi, with the opposition podcast. It's just just mates kind of doing a show together for your entertainment. I'm just going to catch up on some of these comments. Let's have a look at what else there is. WEF agenda. I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, there could be a case to make that kind of comment for public broadcasters who are infused and connected with the government, that they do have a certain agenda that they try to push onto the public. Of course, we saw that very strongly during the time of COVID. Okay, this is left of field, but I'll try to answer this. Hey, mate, just quickly, how does it feel to support legislation in groups that on face value wouldn't have let you or your family immigrate here originally? How do you reconcile that? Well, there's all types of history. I don't know what time period that you're specifically talking to, but there's all types of political histories or types of legislation and laws that impacted people in different ways. But, there's changes that happen throughout time in society, and views change, and political views of different parties change, and there's different types of amalgamation of ideas that come into all of this. So, this perception that somehow migrants to Australia should be left leaning, should be supporting open borders, should be supporting the Labor Party or the Greens or one of these type of things is ridiculous. People from all over the world, a lot of countries that people are migrating to Australia from have very strong closed borders and have very strict immigration policies. And they're very inwards looking, very nationalistic, populist, however you want to term it. So to think that people from other parts of the world wouldn't have conservative leanings, for instance, wouldn't view immigration in a certain manner, is ridiculous. I think a lot of people make that mistake of thinking just because, they like you got the privilege of being able to immigrate to Australia, so therefore you should be fully open to this open borders nonsense where we have mass immigration that degrades the country is silly. So that's why I support policies around smart immigration, around closing borders or securing borders, around vetting people, because to be successful in the country, to be successful for your family's future as well, even as a migrant to the country, for instance, you need to have a country that has the possibility and the ability to do that. And just opening borders and just letting everyone in without having any type of idea or policy around that is a ridiculous position to take. So having a political position that aligns more with those ideas isn't necessarily whatever that individual was trying to term it as. It is a bit of a loaded question. This is a good one. Make the ABC a subscription. Yeah, look, if you made the ABC a subscription-based service, I think in about, I'd give it 5 years, it would just die. And maybe that's what needs to happen. Is there a case anymore today to have a national broadcaster? Is that required? Perhaps we could have one just for emergency broadcasts. We can have some type of system like that where we keep a channel active just to provide people with emergency information, and just very, very basic weather, very basic local news that's tailor-made for that location. Just very basic things. Do we need a public broadcaster to, having a discussions around their views and ideologies and political leanings and things like this? I only say that because I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but if they can't also have the other side and give them a fair shake as well. So I think that is the issue with an organization like the ABC. The next one that I wanted to talk about, the next topic, is actually around a similar group, similar type of concept to what I'm seeing with the ABC, and that is around RMIT fact check. So I don't know if you guys remember, there was a big deal during COVID, during what else was it? The Voice to Parliament. These fact checkers were all over the place. They were everywhere. They were fully in our lives, and they were kind of really in control of social media companies as well, through being infused with this kind of weird political power that they were given by governments as well during that time. So it wasn't until the Twitter files came out, Elon Musk bought X, a lot of that relationship between the government and these social media companies was exposed, and Facebook was a massive culprit. But to legitimize what they were doing, they had these fact checkers, and we don't really hear about them too much, especially in Australia. They're still there, but they're not as influential, of course. But now that the election is coming up in Australia next year, one of our favorite fact-checking outfits, the disgraced RMIT Fact Lab, have actually rebranded themselves as RMIT Lookout. So this is quite hilarious. And I don't know if you remember, if you've been watching my content for a while, I was actually involved in trying to expose RMIT, and I inadvertently stumbled across some documents that showed their relationship with Meta, how much money they were getting from Meta per fact check. So it was almost a business type arrangement that they had to fact check Australians. There were certain quotas they had to meet in that contract. So very shady what was happening with RMIT fact check. And but if you go search for them today, you go to Google and you look up RMIT Fact Lab. Very happy to report they have completely disappeared. They're not there anymore. But that is because they have now rebranded themselves. They have rebranded themselves as RMIT Lookout. So be on the lookout for RMIT. They're back, and you'll see they've set it all up. They've got a new website, and they've got the old fact checks on there as well that they used to do before. So they got caught out. They've taken away all the information about the team, the people involved, because what happened during that time when we were looking into RMIT was the individuals who were involved in running RMIT Fact Lab. They had all these overt political biases within their own professional or personal tweets and all these kind of things. And it was very obvious that they were leaning a certain way. So they were very heavily in pushing for the voice to parliament, and they were very negative towards posts that questioned anything to do with the voice to parliament. For instance, we're talking about whether it was a 1-page document or an 18-page document. So they were very much, into policing people's opinions on these matters online. And of course, who can forget during COVID how crazy these organizations were? And today we know, of course, today all Australians, even the ones that were calling and dobbing in their neighbors, everyone knows that these people were lying to you, right? And they were using the consent given by these type of organizations like these fact checkers to silence people and to say that these people are spreading misinformation when in fact they were not. So RMIT, look out. That's their new wing that they have. Again, Sky News did a piece on this, and they were saying they're just kind of preparing for the general election that's coming up. So, to protect democracy ahead of a federal election. So it's interesting to see. We will be keeping an eye out on them because they are the biggest, in my opinion, spreaders of misinformation and disinformation. And their only interest is to serve the interests of the governing parties that they have relationships with, or other interests that they want to propagate throughout the Australian population by calling people liars themselves. And they might even be more emboldened because they didn't get their way with some of these censorship laws that they wanted to pass through. So let me check in on some of the comments around this. And I'll just read this person's actual this is from Get Real Now. They've written, not even accredited, and already they've been caught telling lies. Taxpayers pay for this crap. Look out, disgraced RMIT fact-checking unit undergoes botched rebrand ahead of federal election. Now, I don't know particularly what the relationship with taxpayers is anymore with RMIT, in terms of, because they had a relationship previously with the ABC as their kind of co-fact-checking group brand. Yes, I was reading a comment here from Madeline who says, RMIT fact-check was terrible. Yeah, they were so crap. Look out for any facts checked by RMIT. Who pays them? Well, they have on their website. So if you check their website, they do get money from the International Fact Checking Organization. I believe they get grants. They might fact check me and correct me on this. But if you go to About Us, they do say they take donations. Well, they used to say that. Let's have a look. Funding. RMIT Lookout is a not-for-profit project funded by RMIT University and income earned from Meta. Oh, they've put that in now since we caught them. Earned from Meta for the fact-checking of content on its social media platforms. We are also funded by research grants. Previously, we have received funding from the Judith Nelson Institute for Research into election-related misinformation and disinformation on social media. Meta and funders of grants have no say in our decision-making or our fact-checking operation. We do not accept donations from political parties, advocacy groups, or lobby groups. All funding goes directly towards operating costs. So with that whole Meta arrangement, what happened was Avi Yemeni was in a court case with these fact-checkers because we got fact-checked on a certain article or a story we did about the shrine, the protests at the shrine where there was some issue that happened there. So an RMIT fact checked that. Now with that, what happened during that court case was when I was personally looking into that case at the court, I came across the documents that showed the arrangement that RMIT and Meta had put in place, and that was never publicly available, that information. So I managed to source that document, and that really showed the relationship that these organizations had and how they were, pretending, I would say, in my opinion, to the public that they were so independent. They had none of these relationships. They were just doing this out of the goodness of their hearts as these fact checkers who wanted to keep the public informed. But it turned out they were getting hundreds of thousands of dollars from Facebook, from Meta, and there was quotas involved. So every so often they had to meet a certain a quota. This was my understanding of it, to get paid. So that's what happened there, and they've come back now as RMIT lookout, but we are on the lookout for them. It'll be interesting to see what they fact check during this election cycle. No doubt that the Labour Party will be wanting to have a lot of things fact checked during that time, because there has been so many things that they've said and done during the last couple of years while they've been in power that really, people have a lot of different opinions on, and they might want to silence a lot of that. Let's see. I'll just try to catch up on some of these comments now and come back to the next story. What's that here? No, I can't watch Avi either. Give it a go. I know it's hard to watch Avi. It's even harder to work with him and do a show with him. So, but he does good work. So you can give it a watch. He starts at 7 p.m. tonight on the Avi Yemeni Report. All right, guys, let me just load up the next story that I had to talk to you guys about. And this is also keeping on the theme of the fake news. And one of the biggest perpetrators that we know of fake news probably sets the standard for fake news. And that is, of course, CNN, the organization most people would associate with the term fake news. Now, this is quite stunning, this story, how it's all unraveled, I guess, in the last couple of days. And I actually saw this when it first came out. And even then, it was a lot of people online, a lot of online sleuths raising questions around this particular story. And I don't want to really talk about the issues in Syria. That's not really what it's about, but it's really about the way that news is presented and reported, and how easy it is for even massive news organizations to get it wrong in the way that they present information and news. Now, this particular story was this massive CNN scoop that they had after the fall of the Assad regime. The international press went to Syria, and you had this instance of CNN reporter, what's her name, Clarissa Ward, saving, not saving, but encountering this prisoner allegedly held captive, and there's this interesting interaction between them. She's giving her water. She's giving him water. It's just a normal theatrics that you'd expect from something like CNN. So let's play a little bit of this, and I'll just talk about what's happened since with this story, and just maybe discuss maybe the lessons that we can learn from the fake news media and how they approach news.
I can't tell though, it might just be a blanket, but it's the only cell that's locked. Is he gonna shoot it?
The guard makes us turn the camera off while he shoots the lock off the cell door.
The volume's very low.
We go in to get a closer look. It's still not clear if there is something under the blanket.
Oh, it moved. Is there someone there? I thought I saw it move. Is someone there? Or is it just a blanket? I don't know.
I think it's someone. Hello?
Okay, let's just listen.
All right, I'm just going to keep fast forwarding this. There's someone under the blanket. This individual comes out.
I'm a civilian, he says. I'm a civilian.
And the whole thing is, it's this like Syrian prisoner that's been held captive by the Assad regime in this dark, dingy, dungeon prison. And we've seen many horrific scenes of this.
He's been in the cell for 3 months.
For 3 months, apparently, he's been in there for 3 months. She's saying.
You're okay.
But the story and the thing that most people picked up about this story when you were hearing that he's been in there for 3 months is the fact that this guy had on a relatively clean outfit for someone that's been in this state for 3 months. His beard hadn't really overgrown. This is just obvious things, right? His beard hadn't really overgrown. There were shots of his fingernails, for instance, and they were like trimmed. So if he was in really bad condition, I think it would be noticeable. And we've seen some horrific images out of Syria of these prisons of people in really dire circumstances, and just you can tell that they've been captive in there's some people who have intellectual disabilities because they've just been in these prisons for so long. Whereas in this instance, this all looks like theatrics. CNN saying he's been in there for 3 months. He's wearing like a brand new coat almost. It's very clean. He's trimmed. He looks more cleaner than my beard trim at the moment, right? I got to have a shave, and his fingernails are great. So this was this massive story from CNN, but instantly many people, there were community notes, people saying that this is not a legitimate prisoner. And there was an organization that did some fact checking, and now that says that this man is an Air Force intelligence first lieutenant from the Assad regime. So technically, some places were saying he is a spy for the Syrian Assad regime. You can correct me if I am wrong. Some person here was saying that he was apparently there for one night. So this story just evolved, and now CNN is still going with this story. They've changed their tune on it. Now they're acting like they're the ones that revealed this new breaking news about these new revelations. And there's been no kind of clarification as to why they initially had the opposite in their story. So that's why I wanted to highlight that story. Many of you might have already seen that. I'm trying to find the new let me just find the latest from CNN around that, because they've learned nothing is what I'm trying to say. They've learned absolutely nothing, and they're just going with it. Let's have a read of this one. They have no class and no shame. CNN just got caught red-handed faking a story about prisoners being mistreated in Syria. Yeah, these were kind of the prisoner CNN help free from Syrian prison was actually notorious Assad regime torturer. Standard fake news CNN. And whether it's deliberate or not, it kind of goes to the whole fact that these are the same organizations that spread the Russia collusion hoax, many other hoaxes that we've seen them spread, particularly around Donald Trump and the US election time. It's crazy that there's like not, for a massive international organization like this, that no one even picked up on the fact that he didn't actually look like a tortured prisoner that's been in a prison for 3 months when they were running these stories. So that was quite an interesting revelation. We've got CNN fake propaganda. That's true. Someone's written here, to be fair, I couldn't grow a beard that good in 3 months. Thanks for all the comments, guys. It's really interesting reading them. Yeah, this is a good one. That CNN story was crazy. Pure theater, 100%. Now, I'm just going to jump on to the next story that I was going to cover. So give me a moment while I pull that up. I'm on for about another 15, 20 minutes. And like I said, the Yemeni report is coming up at 7 p.m. So if you want to jump on there and watch the Yemeni report, you can do that as well after I finish at 7. The next one I wanted to talk about was there's been some more developments in the drone story. So we talked about the drones yesterday. We're trying to figure out what's going on there. Multiple statements have now been released by different government agencies, and there's a bit more of people trying to address what's happening there. Donald Trump has said that he's not going to Bedminster or wherever because he doesn't want those drones flying over him, for instance. So I'll show you that clip as well. But this is the FBI, and the FBI is concerned that members of the public are pointing lasers towards aircrafts that are flying over them, thinking that they're drones, and they're just telling the public to be careful that it's not all drones that people are targeting. They're worried about people trying to take down aircraft that they see above them. So, of course, all of this has gotten out of hand. It's a crazy story. We also had, I think it was John Kirby from the Pentagon. He was the National Security. Let's have a listen to what he has to say.
We've got, Brett, and we've now examined some 5,000 different sightings. We've added detection capabilities, additional observers. As you and I stand here today, to date, our assessment is that this is lawful, legal, commercial, hobbyist, and even law enforcement aircraft activity. Some of it's manned, some of it's unmanned. We absolutely acknowledge that A lot of these are probably drones, but they're flying legally, and it is legal to fly drones in non-restricted airspace as long as you're registered with the FAA. And there's thousands and thousands of these kinds of flights every single day. I think there's more than 1 million drones that are.
So yeah, that's the Biden administration, I guess, downplaying everyone's concerns about the drones and just saying it's a normal everyday occurrence. There's always drones flying around, so you know, it's just what it is. But let's hear what Donald Trump had to say about the drones.
First of all, good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey and the ports? And it seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people. And they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster. Want to know the truth. They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Yeah, so that's pretty funny. I won't talk too much about the drones. I'll see if there's any major developments around these drones. I will talk about it. Someone did mention in the comments about those, I guess, Chinese spy balloons or whatever that were flying over, and they didn't shoot them down. That was a couple of almost a year and a bit ago when that was happening, right? And that's why the people have concerns, because we have had instances where there has been these kind of foreign, you know, spy balloons or whatever from adversaries of the US flying over their territory, and the government has done nothing. So when you have this issue with these drones and so on, yeah, so that kind of, you know, that's why people are concerned about it. So it makes sense. Like Trump wouldn't already know the truth. Yeah, look, I mean, Trump is a bit of a showman. I'm sure that he has been briefed on exactly what's going on here, and you know, that kind of context around it. If it's whatever it is, I'm pretty sure he knows exactly what's going on. But the thing is, he's going to play to the fact that the government that's currently there is useless. He's not going to be the one that's going to explain exactly what's going on. That's not his role. He's going to put pressure on the people there to actually come out and, you know, provide some clarity around it. He could potentially provide some clarity, but again, that's not his role, and I don't disagree with the stance that he's taking to actually just mock the current government and, you know, say things like the way that he's going on about it. But yeah, that's, I think, enough of the drones. That actual press conference was quite interesting, and you can see a lot of different questions that Trump is standing there and answering, and it's a very stark contrast to the last 4 years of President Biden. He would rarely take questions, and especially like random questions about topics that he wasn't prepared for on his teleprompter. He'd just walk out, right? How many times have we seen Joe Biden just look dazed, turn around and walk out? But Trump stands there, he takes all types of questions on all topics, and finally it feels like there's someone with a bit of competence and some sort of leadership quality there to answer as the President of the United States of America. So that bodes well, I believe, for the rest of the world, because at least we have someone that's coherent enough to answer questions. Now, you might not like the answers that he gives, but at least he's able to articulate himself and give an answer. So this is someone asking him about the hostages. This is the hostages that are being kept in Gaza, and this is his response, for instance. So let's have a look. He's very clear and direct about what he means.
Yeah. Since your election? Well, I'm not going to comment on the Putin question, but I will comment on Bibi. We had a very good talk. We discussed what is going to happen, and I'll be very available on January 20th, and we'll see. As you know, I gave warning that if these hostages aren't back home by that date, all hell's going to break out, and very strong. But we.
So yeah, just wanted to just play that as a demonstration. Very direct, clear answer from the president there, president-to-be. that all hell will break loose if these hostages are not released by the time that he is in power. Last story, guys. I'm just going to pull up the last story that I want to discuss with you guys before I finish up for the day. And I'll probably spend the last 10 minutes or so just going through the comments that you guys have been putting through and answering some of these comments. But it's a story that I discussed earlier today, and that was around, me and Avi did a special broadcast, like we call it an emergency broadcast, just to kind of drive home the point that we're just reacting to news as it happens. And this particular news was around the new laws that Jacinta Allen, the Victorian Premier, is introducing or wants to introduce the proposed changes and extra police powers around managing protests, things like face masks. They want to ban face masks at protests. They want to ban people bringing things that could potentially be used like bike locks and chains and so on that could be used perhaps to, for these. Usually I see the climate extremists tying themselves to different objects in order to protest. So those kind of things will be banned. Also terrorist flags and insignias that are of a terroristic nature or a group that is deemed a terrorist organization in Australia will be banned under the proposals, or police will have power to act on that. Now, much of it, there's been a lot of commentary around this, and a lot of this was already things that kind of existed, right? Especially around the terrorist symbols and the flags. I believe certain federal violations when it comes to these type of symbols and flags. It's already illegal to do that, but it was happening. And it's been happening for almost a year now. So a lot of these kind of changes that we're seeing feels like an encroachment on the rest of the public as well, who have not been involved in this type of protest activity. And it's just a way for the state, for the police to have more power that could be abused in different circumstances in the future. There is a case, especially around the masks, people being masked at protests. Now, a lot of people have made commentary around the fact that, during COVID, for instance, if you didn't wear a mask at a protest, you would get fined, right? Or you couldn't go outside without a mask. And now all of a sudden, if you do wear a mask, you're in trouble. But if you actually read or listen to some of the finer details, there's actually exemptions there. So if you can wear a mask at a protest for health reasons, and you can wear a mask at protests for religious or culturally significant reasons. So think of what you can when you hear that, especially in the context of the types of protests that we see. Of course, many people will say there's a religious or a cultural reason that they're covering their face. And a lot of these kind of left-wing lunatics from Antifa and these other kind of socialist groups that love to wear medical masks during protesting, they will just say, look, we're protecting ourselves from a health condition. It's going to be very hard to police. So, I feel like it's going to be targeted towards perhaps in ways that we can't imagine today. And I'm not one that, believes that people that believe in their cause should be masking themselves up if they're attending a peaceful protest, because there should be nothing to be ashamed of. You should be wanting to assert your position. And that's usually the case around the world. But the implications for the future are a bit different, because what we might have in the future is a story, in this country at least, where we have digital identity, where we have facial recognition technology, where our biometric data as it relates to ourselves might be tied to different things like, social security or whatever. I'm just, spitballing here some ideas. Might be like tied to a vaccine passport in the future. And if you're at the protest and you can't cover your face down the track, I'm talking about, next time that these guys try their 1 in 100 year pandemic, and you're at a protest, maybe they'll track your face and block your bank account. Okay, maybe that's the reason that you want to cover your face at a protest. I'm just giving the other side of the argument in this instance. And this is not stuff that's out of the realm. We saw Canada. What did Justin Trudeau do? Actually, I want to do one more thing on Justin Trudeau before I finish up. But what did Justin Trudeau do in Canada? They went after the truckers, right? They went after their bank accounts and so on. Imagine how much easier it would be for government just to film someone's face, put it into their social credit system, match it up with a digital ID, and then just block something because you're protesting against something the government doesn't like. So there are situations where these type of laws, it might fit this current situation that we're in, and people might be happy about this. But it might in the future be used in ways that we cannot imagine. So I think there's a bit of that happening, and we don't really understand the full ramifications of what has been proposed. Now, it's Josh Frydenberg, I believe former treasurer, Liberal Party, someone who's strongly advocated for the protection of the Australian Jewish community, Israeli community, especially since the firebombing of the synagogue. He said the Victorian government's new measures to protect places of worship, ban terrorist flags and symbols, and outlaw face coverings at protests is a welcome start, but by no means the end of what is required. So, very strong Liberal. And the thing I'm trying to demonstrate here is that whether it's the Labor Party or the Liberal Party, these type of laws, the direction that we're going in, where governments take the easy way out when it comes to these issues, is going to become more and more commonplace. And even this is not enough, according to Josh Frydenberg. So, that's kind of the state that we're in. And this topic around the protests and the banning of certain masks and so on, I think is going to be something that's discussed at length. In terms of the flags of terrorist groups and organizations like that, I don't have a problem with that. If a certain group has been designated by our international, our intelligence agencies and by the police and so forth, has been designated as an enemy state or a terrorist organization that we don't recognize, or we're at war with, let's say ISIS, for instance, whatever. Why would then someone in public be parading their flag around in public? It makes no sense. Even on the grounds of free speech, it doesn't really make sense, because you're dealing with someone that may be a potential threat to the public. So there's those type of issues. It's not always crystal clear around issues around free speech. It's just like a free-for-all and you can do whatever you want. I think there is certain limitations when it comes to things like terrorist organizations, for instance, and preaching in public for people to be involved with such organizations when the country itself spends billions of dollars on national security to fight against those very organizations. It makes no sense. So let's have a look at some of the comments. Please turn your sound up, Rukshan. I mean, some people say it's fine, some people say it's it's interesting. I got to figure out this sound thing, because I feel like it's maybe the device that people are listening onto, but I could be wrong. I will eventually lift the mic up right here. I'm just waiting for my stand to arrive on Amazon, because it's Christmas time. Amazon deliveries, you can't get it instantly. It takes 2 days usually now, so even with Amazon Prime. So eventually when I have my mic right up here, I think it'll be much more clearer. But thanks, guys. I appreciate the feedback to do, and that's on my to-do list. Last year, I just realized Justin Trudeau, I was talking about tyrannical leaders and dictatorships and things like this, and I remember Justin Trudeau. So he's actually facing a bit of a challenge in Canada, and I think he's weathered the storm for now, but there are people that want him to resign, and people from within his own party that want him to resign. So it might be, Justin Trudeau might be one of the leaders that actually falls down and being kicked out of his own party without him going on his own terms. I hope to see that happens, because what we had, people like Daniel Andrews, Scott Morrison, they all kind of left on their own terms in a way. We also had, Jacinda Ardern in New Zealand. She left on her own terms. But for a tyrannical COVID-era dictator, Justin Trudeau has been someone that has always just kind of stuck around like a bad smell. So to see him perhaps get kicked out by his own party, it's going to be a wonderful sight to see. I'm just reading some of the comments. Someone's saying here that my audio gain is low. Yes, I think I need to get a different mixer that can just increase my gain a little bit more. Daniel's saying won't be too long for Trudeau now. And a lot of Canadians are excited about the prospect of Trudeau being thrown out. I just want to play this video that I saw today of him being in the public. Someone approached him on this issue. Let's see if I can find it, and I'll end on that note. So let me just try to find Trudeau in public. If I can't find it, I'll save it for here we go.
Prime Minister, are you going to remain in office, sir?
What gives you the right to continue? What gives you the right to stay in office? You failed Canada. You ruined our country. You're done. Walk away. You don't have an ounce of your father's integrity. At least he walked in the snow. You've ruined this country. Everyone around you is running from you. You're a bad...
But yeah, there you go. Maybe you heard that, maybe you didn't, but you can look it up. Justin Trudeau, if you're watching in Australia and you don't know about what's happening in Canada. there is potentially a challenge to his leadership, or they just want him out. So that would be quite interesting to see. Anyway, guys, so just before I finish up in the next 5 minutes or so, let's get to some of your comments. I'll have a look here. You've got Dishan here saying, hey, Rukshan. Hey, Dishan, mate. How you doing? Thanks for tuning in again to another episode of Rukshan on X. What else do we have here? I love the technical support. Master volume needs more dB, not the mic. I see. Does he mean Justin's father, Castro? Yes, I've turned off my laptop thing for now. I can't bring up those photos, but there's an uncanny resemblance between Trudeau and Fidel Castro, and there's some interesting photos with Justin Trudeau's mother and Fidel Castro just being very close, I guess, in a way, for just a normal photo. Well, let me know, guys, if you have any more questions. I'm on for 2 more minutes. Got here from the Swing State. Thanks, mate. You are doing a good job. Thank you. I am trying my best. It is all a learning experience, of course, to just get all this set up and get it all running nice and smooth, and then to do obviously just random spontaneous live streams. In spontaneous in the sense that I don't really prepare much for this, right? So I'm just on X. I might bookmark some stories, and then I'll come live and I just talk about it as it happens. There's no teleprompters. There's nothing. There's no preparation. There's no notes. I'm just talking into the camera. Yeah, Max is saying my headset is hearing fine. I have a feeling that different streaming platforms, because I'm streaming to Facebook, YouTube, X at the same time, and different platforms, I feel like they render the audio in a different manner. So Facebook, I think, does a different job to what YouTube does. YouTube is a bit more technical in terms of how they do those things, I believe. I could be wrong, but there's something like that is going on. One of my trolls here, David Harry Clean, he says I hate you. And yes, he's always writing that type of commentary. But even though he's a troll and he hates me, he's always watching my content. So, as long as I get the engagement and my trolls watch, I don't mind. So, Harry, I'm glad you're hate watching. If that's what you're doing, you seem to hate watch every episode. So good on you. Perhaps you could find something more interesting to do. But if this is the best you can do today, I think you've got other issues to work on too, mate. So thanks for your message. And someone's written, I have been here for like 2 minutes and already had 3 ads. Really? Is there ads on Facebook? I didn't even I didn't really know. Like they're putting ads in between live stream content. Mark Zuckerberg is desperate. I think he's even pledged money to Donald Trump. He's Facebook itself as a company, Meta, is obviously on a backwards trajectory with people moving in a different direction. The only reason that Meta existing right now is because they've done some good business choices in terms of getting things like Instagram, acquiring WhatsApp, and of course the other technological things that they work on as well. But Meta, what we know them for with Facebook, Facebook is like a dumpster fire as far as I know. I could be wrong, someone might correct me, but it's not the same Facebook that it has been when it first came out. It has been really just Zuckerberg is a lizard person. So yeah. Oh, it's hilarious. Anyway, guys, I am going to finish up now. Thanks again for joining. So I will have a show tomorrow as well. I'm trying to figure out if I'll do it in the morning or in the evenings. So it'll spontaneously come on. But like I said yesterday, during yesterday's episode, I will eventually have a set timeline for when these episodes happen. So, if you want to tune in, you can tune in. You can always, of course, the beauty of the internet is you can watch it later. These things are recorded and they stay online, so you can watch them as well. But if you're online, please jump in, come in on the comments and, participate as well. You can see your comments coming up here, and I'll try to respond to some of the comments as well. That's right. This person knows. Funny, every comment, good or bad, helps the stream go higher up. the algo rankings. That's right. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoy the rest of your night, evening, wherever you're watching from in Australia. If you're watching from around the world, good morning, good night, whatever it is. Again, thank you so much for supporting independent media. Follow me on X at The Real Rukshan. You can also find me on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, Odyssey at The Real Rukshan. Or you can go to www.realrukshan.com and all my content